All right, we're going to graph some piecewise functions, so let's get started here. It says graph this function, and we have two pieces here. So the way I do this is I make two different tables. So we'll have an x and a y, which is actually f of x in this problem, but that's your y. And it says for x less than 1, so I definitely want to put the 1 in here. And I notice that it's just a less than symbol. So if it's less than, it's going to be an open dot. Now, what's less than 1? Give me a number less than 1 that would fit on our graph. I don't know. How about 0? Or how about, I don't know, -2. I'm just going to randomly choose that. What you do is you take the 1 and you substitute it in. And when you substitute it in and work it out, you get 2. Now you could put this into your y equals on the calculator and look at the table, or you could just substitute it in. Maybe you can do it in your head. Maybe you can type it all into the calculator. Whatever works for you. When I substitute in 0 for x here, I'm going to get 1.5. And when I substitute in -2, I'm going to get 0.5. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph this. So we're at 1, 2, and we're going to put an open dot here. And then we're at 0, 1.5, which is right here. And then we go to -2, and we put 0.5. And this just keeps going in this direction for a long, long time. So I'm just going to sketch that in. Okay. Let's do our second piece. I'll switch to a different color. So for this one, we have x, and we have f of x, which is your y, essentially. And it says greater than or equal to 1. So we'll put the 1 here. What's bigger than a 1? Well, I think 2 is bigger than a 1. What about 4? 4 is bigger than a 1. So let's substitute in our 1, and when we do that, we get 2 here. When we substitute our 2 in, we get 1. And when we substitute 4 in, we get -1. So what kind of dot is this first one going to be because it's greater than or equal to? Well, greater than or equal to is a closed dot. So we go to 1, 2, and that's weird. We land right on the open dot, but that's okay. Color it in. It wins. So if you have an open and a closed dot, the closed dot wins. So then we have 2, 1, and then we go to 4, -1. So you just want to go ahead and sketch it in that main direction. Okay, so we're done with the piecewise. There we go. 2 pieces, all done. Why don't you guys go ahead and try this problem. So try this problem right here tonight. Have it ready to go when you come into class. We will be checking it, and then we'll go over it then. But go ahead and try this problem, and let's see how you do when you come into class. All right? Let's keep going on here. Graph the function. Now this one looks a little different, right? It looks like we have one number here. We have a bunch of sandwiches. That's what I call those right here. So let's get started with this first table, and we'll write it right here. So x and g of x, which is essentially our y value. Look what it's saying between 0 and 2. So I'm going to have 0 here, I'm going to have 2 here. Well, what's between 0 and 2? 1. Okay? So at the 0, we've got just a less than sign, right? So if it's just a less than sign, it's going to be an open dot. And here we have a less than or equal to, so that's going to be a closed dot. Then we want to substitute in, but that's real weird. There's not even an x here, right? So you're not really substituting in anything. Literally, like, no matter what x is, what are you going to get? A 3. No matter what x is, you're getting a 3. Let's go ahead and graph that over here. So we go to 0, 3, and I'm going to put an open dot. And then I'm going to go 1, 3, closed, 2, 3, closed. Now, I didn't say this earlier, but unless it says open, your dots are always closed. I know I didn't write closed next to this one. I just kind of do that with my endpoints. And then anything in between is always a nice closed up dot. Makes like a little segment like that. So let's go ahead and let's take care of our next chart. So our next chart we'll put here. This is x and g of x. And here it's between 2 and 6. So we've got 2 and 6, and what's in between? 4 is right in between, so I'll just pick that one. Maybe you chose 3. Maybe you chose 5. Whatever you choose is fine, as long as it's between 2 and 6. And here we have a less than, so open. And here on this one, we have less than or equal to, so closed. Now, no matter what we do, we're always going to get a 5. I don't care what you pick for x when I substitute it in. Since there's no x there, you're just going to get 5. So I'm going to write 5 for all of these, and then we'll go and graph. So 2, 5, open, 4, 5, and then 6, 5. Even though it's an endpoint, it's going to be closed up, like this. All right, looks like a nice little step function right now. And the last one we're going to do is this one. So we'll say x and g of x on this last one. So 6 and 10. We've got 6, we've got 10. What's between? Well, you could say 7, you can say 8, you can say 9. I'll use 8. And here we have a less than, so open. And here we have a less than or equal to, so closed. And remember, anything in between is always closed. So if I substitute 6 or 8 or 10 in, who cares? There's no x there, right? So you're just going to get this 1. 1, 1, 1. Let's go graph. 6, 1, we're going to have an open dot. And then over here on 8, 1, let's do that one next. That's closed. And on 10, 1, it's closed. There it is. There's your step function. See how it goes in little steps? Okay. So let's move down to this last one here. This one seems like it could be a little bit tougher. Let's tackle this applied problem. You have a summer job that pays time and a half for overtime. That is, if you work more than 40 hours a week, your hourly wage for extra hours is 1.5 times your normal hourly wage of $7. Write and graph a piecewise function that gives your weekly pay, that's important, P in terms of the number H, which are the hours you work per week. And then part B is how much will you get paid if you work 45 hours. Well, we know that if we work up to 40 hours, we would be paid $7 times however many hours we worked. They said H are the number of the hours, so that would be 7H. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So from 0 to 40 hours. Then, if we go over 40 hours, we're talking about our weekly pay, right? So if we go over 40 hours, the first thing is we would get paid $7 an hour for the first 40. So for the first 40 hours, we get our regular wage, which was $7 an hour. But then the magic happens. Then you get paid time and a half, which is 1.5, of your hourly wage, which is $7 an hour, for all the hours over 40, and that is the tricky part. Let's say I've worked 42 hours. How many hours over 40 have I worked? 2, right? What you did in your brain is subtract. What you did in your brain is you took that 42 and you subtracted off the 40 to find out how many extra overtime hours you worked. So H minus 40 would represent your overtime hours. Now this is all kinds of sloppy slop, right? So I would go ahead and I would make this look a little better. So this would be 280 plus, well, 1.5 times 7 is 10.5. And then we've got H minus 40. And let's clean this up by distributing. So 280 plus 10.5H minus 420. And then when we clean all of that up, we get 10.5H minus 140. Okay? Well, that's all well and good, but we need to write it as a piecewise function. So they specifically told us that it's going to be P, right? So we'll say it's P of H equals. Two things are going on here. You're either getting paid that 7H, that $7 an hour, if you work 0 to 40 hours. So if you work 0 to 40 hours. Now notice that they're both less than or equal to. They could both be equal to. And then the other one we just found out was the 10.5H minus 140 if you work more than 40 hours. Now, it's not or equal to. It's just if the hours are more than 40, because if you work exactly 40 hours, you're just getting paid that $7 an hour. Okay? So there's our piecewise right there. So the next thing we need to do is we need to make a table. So this is going to be H and P of H. Right there. And then let's see, what can we use? We can use 0, and I'll just use the endpoint, 40. And both of these are going to be closed. So if I put in 0, I get 0. And if I put in 40 here, I get 280. So let's go ahead and let's do this other table over here. So here's the hours, and then P of H. This is if it's greater than 40. So we'll pick 40, and since it's just greater than it's open, and then let's pick another number bigger than 40. How about 50? So if I substitute 40 in here and I work it all out on my calculator, I should get 280. And if I substitute 50 in here and work it all out on my calculator, I get 385. Okay? Here's what I want you to do. What I want you to do is I want you to finish graphing this. Okay? And then I want you to answer part B. How much will you get paid if you work 45 hours? Bring that to class. Remember, if I went too fast, you could always rewind. And if you wanted to, you could have worked these problems out along with us, or you can just be done now and go back and fill these problems in, this one and the one on the front. So we'll finish this up in class and talk to you then. Have a wonderful day.